The unrest in Turkey following the arrest of Istanbul's municipal leader, Ekrem İmamoğlu, has raised familiar questions in a chillingly modern context. Who controls the public square in a digital age? Now, I'm no partisan of İmamoğlu's politics, and the allegations of corruption and the alleged links to PKK, if substantiated, should be taken seriously. But something darker is unfolding in parallel. The repression of civil protest has shifted from the baton and the courtroom to the dashboard of Silicon Valley, to Twitter. Elon Musk's platform of purported free speech absolutism has once again bowed to state pressure, suspended accounts linked to students, university activists, and opposition organisers. And let's begin with a truth. We must be unafraid to state censorship, whether by government decree or private platform, is censorship all the same. Turkey's new digital laws may allow such requests, but legality doesn't confer legitimacy, and nor does the use of legality as a disguise for authoritarian tactics, making it any the less sinister. And more than that, we in Britain should be extremely aware of what's going on here, because the Online Safety Act gives Britain and gives the British government almost the same authority over social media platforms. And Elon Musk's compliance, citing the need to keep Twitter operational in Turkey, is disturbingly pragmatic, particularly when Elon Musk pushes against the far less demanding controls that are being imposed from Britain. It reeks of commercial self-interest cloaked in libertarian rhetoric. Now, I don't care much for Elon Musk. I don't particularly like Twitter, and I don't particularly like İmamoğlu. So I think I'm in a perfect position to discuss this issue. It isn't a lone episode. In 2023, just before Erdogan's re-election, Twitter restricted content to appease the Turkish authorities, it seems. Now in 2025, the pattern repeats. Nearly 90% of government takedown requests are being granted. And what is being built here is a new model of digital autocracy outsourced to a tech billionaire who once promised to be its antidote. Now, I think there are good reasons why a state might want to restrict social media. There are very good reasons. But while the spotlight is rightly on free speech, there's a second, more covert operation underway: the mass extraction and the commodification of citizen data. And that's not by Erdogan. That's by İmamoğlu and his cronies. The same Turkey that claims to police harmful information is overseeing the private sale of citizens' digital lives, SIM card registration, Wi-Fi identifiers, metadata on who lives where, who meets whom, who says what. When the authorities can trace your digital footprint and a platform can silence it, we're no longer talking about public safety, we're talking about population control. And in this particular case, we've got two actors in the public realm who seem to be controlling what's happening to social media information and to media in general. We've got this idea of a request to silence individual Twitter accounts, and then we've got the acquisition of so much data by the İmamoğlu groupies who are openly talking about how much data that they've got. And that, of course, forms the bedrock of the charges against İmamoğlu. There's an emerging rumour, unsettling in its plausibility, that authorities believe they now possess, authorities in the Istanbul city, let's say, under the control of CHP, now believe they possess enough data to predict and manipulate the behaviour of entire neighbourhoods. That's not democracy, that's surveillance. That's authoritarianism in a start-up T-shirt. And by the way, that's not Erdogan who's doing that. This is the activity of the so-called opposition. So think about that, because that I think is quite important. Of course, the Turkish government insists that protests incite hatred, that arrests are legal, that Imamoglu is a criminal, not a candidate. But the timing, of course, is convenient. 4 days before his nomination as the opposition's presidential candidate, the charges include both corruption and alleged charity donations linked to terrorist groups. Not just the occasional £100 for Ramadan. Huge amounts of money being given to terrorist groups. Oh, I found them on the internet. It no longer works to say, oh, this person is anonymous, if the CHP have been collecting so much data. And if true, this warrants serious investigation. And yet this information is not getting out into Western media. But justice is now delayed until a politically opportune time. I don't know. You don't wait for justice. Justice is necessary when it happens. So, yes, at this moment it looks convenient, but this is the time when the evidence is presenting itself, isn't it? What makes this situation disturbing is the way it's being interpreted as state overreach. And what we're perhaps forgetting is the private collusion. The private collusion of organizations like Twitter, the private collusion of the data harvesting. When a government silences dissent, that's tyranny. When a billionaire enables it for business continuity, it's something worse. When a municipality leader is harvesting data privately in order to shore up his election hopes, that's something else. The end of accountability without even the justification of a public mandate. Platforms like Twitter have become the de facto town square, and suspending opposition accounts, particularly those sharing information about protest locations, removes not just megaphones but lifelines. It shifts the power to shape political narrative from voters and journalists to server rooms in San Francisco. And so we have an uncomfortable paradox: a free speech platform acting as a digital enforcer for a foreign regime, and a population whose voices are muted twice, first by their own state, then by a foreign CEO promising liberty. More than that, in the background is this data harvesting municipality leader who is now in prison. We've got three things going on at the same time. And we have to ask, what does it mean when the opposition is denied digital tools to organize? Or rather, what does it mean when citizens are denied digital tools to organize, while their personal data, collected through mobile networks, online transactions, public Wi-Fi, is sold to third-party companies? If the Turkish state is trying to prevent chaos, I think it needs to act. And it needs to stop this sort of abuse of data harvesting. But at the same time, it needs to demonstrate that it is committed to freedom. And the slowing down of the internet, the silencing of individual social media accounts, doesn't give that, doesn't promote that message. We need to remember that the platforms that we're using are transnational, not local. We should be very wary of this sort of precedent. Today it's Turkey, tomorrow it could be the UK. The playbook is already written. Criminalize dissent, control the data, and outsource the censorship. I don't have to agree with Imamoglu to defend his right to be heard. Nor must I be blind to corruption to recognize an abuse of power, whether that's in a municipality or whether it's in a nation state. But I think I should call out social media platforms that either connive with the municipality or connive with the nation state to repress and to censor basic communication. This is no longer about one mayor or one country. It's about who holds the keys to the public voice and whether those keys are actually in public hands at all. And that's the problem. This isn't about Turkey. This isn't about Turkey. This is about Elon Musk. This is about the power of social media. And this is about two groups. The Imamoglu group, the government group, and Elon Musk. Today it's Elon Musk. Tomorrow it could be another social media platform. But we, as ordinary individuals, are not in control of our communication. And that should worry us, shouldn't it?